today I'm going to read the second chapter of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. It's named The Council with the Munchkins. She was awakened by a shock so sudden and severe that Dorothy had not been lying on the soft bed, she might have been hurt. As if it was, the jar made her catch her breath and wonder what had happened. And Toto put his little cold nose into her face and whined dismally. Dorothy sat up and noticed that the house was not moving, nor was it dark. For the bright sunshine that came in from the window, flooding the little room, she sprang from her bed, and Toto at her heels ran and opened the door. The little girl gave a cry of amazement that looked about her, her eyes growing bigger and bigger at the wonderful sights she saw. The cyclone had set the house down very gently. For a cyclone, the mists of a country marvelous beauty. The trees being rich in luscious fruits, banks of gorgeous flowers were on every hand, and birds with rare and brilliant plumage sang and fluttered in the trees, and bushes. The little waves of a small brook, rushing and sparkling between green banks, and murmuring in a voice very grateful to a little girl who had lived so long in the dry, gray prairies. While she stood looking eagerly at the strange and beautiful sights, she noticed coming toward her a group of curious people she had ever seen. They were not as big as the ground folk she had ever always been used to, but neither were they very small. In fact, they seemed about as tall as Dorothy, who was a well-grown child for her age, although they were, as so far as looks go, many, many years older. There were 3 men and 1 woman, and all were oldly dressed. They wore round hats that rose to a small point a foot above their heads, with little bells around the brims that tinkled sweetly as they moved. The hats of the men were blue, the little woman's hat was white, and she wore a white crown hung in plaits from her shoulders. Over it sprinkled little stars glistened in the sun like diamonds. Men were dressed in blue, of the same shade of the hats. The men, Dorothy thought, were about as old as Uncle Henry, for 2 of them had beards, but the little woman was doubtless much older. Her face was covered with wrinkles, her hair was nearly white, and she walked rather stiffly. When those people drew the house where Dorothy was standing in the doorway, they paused and whispered among them, as if afraid to come farther. But the little old woman walked up to Dorothy, made a low bow, and said in a sweet voice, "You are welcome, O rarest noble sources, to the land of Munchkins. We are so grateful for having you. For you have killed the wicked witch of East, and for setting our people free from bondage." Dorothy listened to the speech with wonder. What could the little woman possibly mean by calling her sources and saying she had killed a wicked witch of East? Dorothy was an innocent, harmless little girl who had been carried by a cyclone many, many miles from her home. She had never killed anything in all her life. The little woman evidently expected her to answer, so Dorothy said without hesitation, "You are very kind, but there must be some mistake. I've not killed anything." "Oh, your house did anyway," replied the little old woman with a laugh. "And that is the same thing. See," she continued, pointing at the corner of the house. "There are her 2 toes still sticking out from a block of wood." Dorothy looked, giving a little cry of fright. There indeed was just the corner of a great beam. The house rested on 2 feet, which sticking out stood in silver shoes and pointed toes. "Oh dear, oh dear! This house must have fallen over her. Whatever should we do?" "There's nothing to be done," said the little woman calmly, But who was she? She was the Wicked Witch of East, as I said, answered the little woman. She held all the Munchkins in bondage for many years, making them slave of her for night and day, and now they're all set free. Thank you, and are so grateful to you for the favor. What are the Munchkins? There are people who live in the land of East, where the Wicked Witch rules. Are you a Munchkin? No, but I'm their friend, although I live in the land of North. When they saw the Wicked Witch of East was there, the Munchkins sent a swift messenger to me, and I came at once. I am the Wicked Witch of North. Oh, gracious, are you a real witch? Yes, indeed, cried Dorothy. Yes, indeed, answered the little woman, but I am a good witch, and the people love me. I'm not as powerful as the Wicked Witch who ruled here, or I should have set the people free myself. But I thought all the witches were wicked, said the girl, who was half frightened at facing a real witch. Oh, no, that's a great mistake. There were only 4 witches in all the land of Oz, and 2 of them, who live in the north and south, are good witches. This is true. I know this is true, for I am one in the south, and are good witches. I cannot be mistaken. The ones who dwelt in the east and west were indeed wicked witches, but now that you have killed one of them, but there's but one wicked witch in the whole land of Oz who lives in the west. But Aunt Anne has told me witches were all dead years and years ago. Who is Aunt Anne? Inquired the little woman. She's my aunt who lives in the Kansas where I came from. The Wicked Witch of North seemed to think for a long time with her head bowed and her eyes upon the ground. She looked up and said, I do not know where Kansas is, but I've never heard of the country mentioned before. But tell me, is it a civilized country? Oh, yes, replied Dorothy. Then that accounts for it. In civilized countries, I believe there are no witches left, not wizards, nor sorcerers, no magicians. But you see, the land of Oz has never been civilized, for we cut up for the rest of the world. Therefore, we still have witches and wizards among us. Who are the wizards? Oz himself is a great wizard, answered the witch, sinking a voice to a whisper. He is more powerful than the rest of us together. He lives in the city of Emeralds. Dorothy was going to ask another question, but just then the Munchkins, who had been standing sleeping by, gave a loud shout and pointed to the corner house where the Wicked Witch had been lying. What is it? Asked the little woman, and they began to laugh. The feet of the dead witch had disappeared, and entirely nothing was left by the silver shoes. She was so old that she dried up quickly in the sun. That is the end of her, but the silver shoes are yours, and you should have them to wear. She reached down and picked up the shoes. After shaking the dust out of them, she handed them to Dorothy. The Wicked Witch of East was proud of these silver shoes, and said one of the Munchkins, and there is some charm connected with them. But what it is, we'll never know. Dorothy carried the shoes into the house and placed them on the table. Then she came out to the Munchkins and said, I'm anxious to get back to my aunt and uncle, for I am sure they will worry about me. Can you help me find my way? The Munchkins and the Wicked Witch first looked at one another, then at Dorothy, then shook their heads. At the east, not far from here, there is a great desert, and no one could live to cross it. It is same at the south, said another. I have been there and I have seen it. The south is the country of the Quadlings. I am told, the third man, that is the same at the west. At the same country where the Winkies lived, is ruled by the Wicked Witch of the West, would make you their slave if you passed by her way. North is my home, and it's at the edge, said the old lady, and it's at the edge of the same great desert that surrounds this land of Oz. I am afraid, my dear, you will have to live with us. Dorothy began to sob at this. She felt lonely for among these all strange people. Their tears seemed to grab all the kind-hearted Munchkins, and they immediately took out the handkerchiefs and began to weep also. As for the little woman, she took up her cap and balanced one point at the end of her nose. She counted 1, 2, 3, the solemn voice, and the cap changed into a slate, which was written in big white chalks. Let Dorothy go to the city of Emeralds. The little woman took the sleeve from her nose, and having read the words on it, asked Is your name Dorothy, my dear? Yes, answered the child, looking up and drying her tears. Then you must go to the City of Emeralds. Perhaps Oz will help you. Where's the city? It's exactly in the center of the country, ruled by the Oz and the great wizard I told you of. Is he a good man? He is a good wizard. Whether he is a man or not, I cannot tell, for I've never seen him. How do I get there? You must walk. It's a long journey from the country that is sometimes pleasant and sometimes dark and terrible. However, with all the magic arts, I know how to keep you from harm. Won't you go with me? Please, the girl who had begun to look up on the little old woman as her only friend. No, I cannot do that, she replied, but I will give you my kiss, and no one can dare injure a person who has been kissed by the Witch of North. She came up close to Dorothy and kissed her gently on the forehead. Where her lips had touched the girl, they had left a round, shiny mark Dorothy found soon after all. The road to the City of Emeralds is paved with yellow brick, said the witch, so you cannot miss it. Whenever you get to Oz, do not be afraid of him, but tell him your story and ask him to help you. Goodbye, my dear. The three munchkins bowed to her low and wished her a pleasant journey after all they had walked through the trees. The heel 3 times straightway disappeared, to much surprise of little Toto, who barked after her loudly enough when she had gone, because he had been afraid to growl while he stood by. But Dorothy, knowing her to be a witch, she expected to disappear in just that way and was not surprised in the least. In the next video, I will be reading the 3rd chapter of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Bye. See you till next time.